Thinking about moving to Albany, New York, or just want to know what it's like there? You're in luck. We've got Samantha Parker. I even practiced that not 2 seconds ago. Samantha Parker, realtor, right up there in Albany, New York, with us today. This is Want to Move There, the show giving all humans, Sam, I used to say Central Pennsylvanians because it was kind of geared towards us moving out somewhere, but I realize anybody could be watching anywhere on the planet and decide whether they want to move somewhere. This information could be used for all humans. So we're giving all humans the info they need to decide whether or not they want to move to whatever place we're talking about. Albany, New York today. I am DerekBicksler, your host, realtor of 15 years right here in Central Pennsylvania. I grew up on the Hill in Harrisburg, went to Mechanicsburg High School, go Wildcats, went up to Penn College of Technology for college and been back here ever since. Had a few sales jobs before I started selling real estate 15 glorious years ago. If you need to buy or sell a home, please reach out to me, call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We still need inventory pretty badly here in November of 2021, and we will talk to Samantha about what it's like up in Albany in a second. Reminder that whether you are watching live or on a replay, ask a question in the comments. If we don't see it while we're going here, because there's a lot going on, and I don't think the guest sees it happen, actually. I think I'm the only one that sees a little red ding, and there's, like I said, too much going on. So if we don't see it, we will come back later and address it. And a reminder that all the replays are on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify. Not soon on iTunes and Spotify. Got to delete that. It's there. When this airs, it's there, all the places. So wherever you like to get your content, it's there. Please subscribe and like and click the little bell and whatever you need to do so you hear from us. And without further ado, I will bring in Samantha. And Samantha, while I bring up your bio information to read, say hello and tell us what's the last movie you watched.
Ooh, okay. The last movie that I watched. Oh, this is terrible. Of course.
Or
I
series.
don't remember. A series? Okay, I'm watching Hannah right now on Amazon Prime. Yep, that's what I'm watching. The series that I just completed, let's see, I just finished You, season 3. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm a binger of series.
Yeah. The Hannah one, that's she's like an adventure girl. She's like an assassin or something, right?
Yes. She's a little like Lara Croft. Yep, she's a little assassin. She's a total badass who is. I have yet to learn more. I'm only on episode 4 of season 1. So, but the more that I learn, the more I realize like she's literally a genius in a 15-year-old body who could kill 12 people with 4 simple steps.
Sounds pretty awesome. I think there was a movie. I think I saw a movie with that, and it seems like something you would like probably. What about You? That's on Netflix? I feel like You is being shoved in my face every time I open some app, and I haven't watched it yet.
It's very dark, and it's really, the first season had me hooked because it's like, this could really happen. And there are probably people in this world that really do this on some level, even the small level. I think most of us do it when we start like sort of stalk people on social media to learn who they are. But this goes like 12 levels deep where, there's an obsession, and it's a little dark. I have to admit, I'm probably, it's probably a little concerning that I like some of this dark stuff, but I'm not dark-hearted by nature at all. So I think there's a sort of like this, I don't know, this weird like curiosity of how these people like come to be. So I love documentaries as well. Probably watch a lot more documentaries than I do series.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever helps you escape. That's whatever you're doing. My thing's comedy. But I think at face value, I think dark, you would think the person's dark, and comedy, they're a happy person. But I think the opposite is actually true. Most comedians are crazy psycho people, and the people that can watch dramas and stuff are probably like fine with it. I need some drama in my life. I got no action.
Yeah.
I need some vicarious action maybe or something.
Yeah.
So what did you watch when you were young? You were born in Salt Lake City, right? When you were younger, Tell me your favorite cartoon when you were younger.
Oh, there were so many. Care Bears, Scooby-Doo, Flintstones. I loved, was it Voltron or He-Man? Like, what was the one where... Oh, and I love Thundercats. That was a big one.
Ooh, yes, Shitara. You probably like Shitara on the Thundercats.
Yes.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
that. But so you grew up in Salt Lake City, but then you moved to the capital region when you were around 4. So most of the
Mhm.
cartoon watching and all that happened in the capital region. And you said before we got on air, you moved around a whole bunch of times. I forget how many times.
Oh, like
But
24 times in the area here. Yeah.
yeah, and you can explain if you want to why that was, but it doesn't really matter. You were in the same place where you are now, pretty much born and raised. I think that counts as born and raised if you moved there at
Yes.
4.
Pretty
You went
much.
to, let's see if I can say this the right way, and then I'm never going to say it now that we're on air.
I got you.
Shenendehowa, you say it, your high school.
Shenendehowa. Shenendehowa.
Shenendehowa. All right.
Shenendehowa.
It's
It's a
close to the
very, very large
Shenandoah,
school.
very large. How many per class?
I graduated with 750 kids. Actually, only 650 walked graduation day. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty
Yeah,
big
that's pretty big.
school. Hmm.
Twice ours, I think. We have one around here that's like 1,200 or something like that,
That's
which is
big.
pretty nutso.
That's
Is
like a
that
mini
like
college.
it is, it is. The campus is like I think they call it a campus. It's huge. If you want to play sports, that's not the place you want to go because you got to be like the best in the state just to make the team, let alone start or play or anything. So I'd rather go to a little bit smaller school. Is that that's not Albany High School? There's like a city Albany High School.
Yeah, there's the City of Albany High School. Yep. So where I grew up and went to high school is about 30 minutes north of where I live now. I live in the heart of Albany, which is the City of Albany, and where I went to high school is about 30 minutes north, more of a rural community. Actually, when I was growing up there, it was a lot of farmland and then became really developed very quickly. The school district bought a lot of land in that area. And that's how it got to be such a large school. Then quickly, I would say between first and seventh grade, the biggest thing that we had there that everybody raved about was Friendlies and Denny's. And then Applebee's opened just before I went to high school, and that was a big deal. And then a lot of other like mom and pop places had opened and had been there. Well, they had been there, but for chains, those were the big things. Those were the big places to go.
Yeah, back when the chains were kind of like it was cool and you couldn't wait to go eat it. I feel like it's changed. There was this curve where they were opening and you wanted to go eat there and they were special for some reason, but now it's kind of like they're all I would rank the homegrown ones, the ones that were probably there the whole time and we were all waiting for Applebee's to open and Denny's and all these new things. So you did go to Albany though for college at the
Mhm.
University of Albany, U of A, you called it, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
UA.
for the communications and rhetoric, and they've
Mhm.
dropped the rhetoric for the name of the major after this. You said you wanted to be a reporter or a journalist with that. That was the plan.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love asking questions. I love doing exactly what you're doing right now. I love learning about people. I love diving deep with people and understanding their background and just more than surface level, understanding their thought process and how they ended up where they ended up. And so I loved that aspect of it. I loved interpersonal, where it's just small one-on-one, and also that degree. Public speaking was a big thing, and I actually really didn't enjoy public speaking at that time. More so now, I feel more confident and more comfortable in those types of settings. But I love reporting, finding something out, and then sharing it with the world. So not only learning about other people, but also when I learn something, I love to share it as well. And then that quickly changed for me. I ended up in restaurants and not signed, but sealed my life away into the corporate world of helping a local hospitality group grow rather quickly. And when that had happened, the Iraq War had just started, and what was being reported and what was actually happening were two different things. So as I was interning to become a reporter, I quickly decided that it wasn't for me. And
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, here we are, and one thing led to another, from restaurants into real estate, and that's where we are today.
And it makes sense. You're a big moderator on Clubhouse, so saying that you like to share information, you like to ask questions, and all that kind of stuff makes a whole lot of sense because you're really good at what you're doing on there. Your favorite color is blue, so like you said, I wore the favorite or the right shirt today, and I think blue. I'd say 70% blue, maybe not 70, 60% blue, 30% pink, and maybe like one or two outliers so far in the episode. I should put it down. A lot of blues, a lot of
Yeah.
blues. Some people even specify the type of blue. What would your type of blue be?
Sky blue.
All right, I'm with you there. My
Yeah,
favorite color
you
used to
got
be
it
red.
on.
Now, yeah, exactly. The closest to it I could find. If it's too light, then you can't tell it's blue. I like the most vibrant one. Your favorite food is cheeseburger with fries and peanut butter, not necessarily together. Although I think we both agree that fries in peanut butter without the ketchup might be okay. You do have pets. You have two dogs, Biggie and Tiny. Tell the story about how you named them.
So, my ex is a huge fan of Biggie Smalls. So that was the first dog that we got. We got Biggie, and it's spelled Biggdie. And then after about 7 months, we realized, hey, look, we work so much. Let's get him a pal to kind of bounce around with, and it will help also with his energy. It was a very high energy dog. So we got another dog, smaller, a little smaller. They look very similar breeds, but he's a little smaller, and I almost lost out. He was almost named Tupac because of Biggie and the Tupac feud. So I quickly negated that and said we really ought to settle that feud, and let's just do Biggie and Tiny. So yeah.
Yeah,
Tiny.
you don't want a dog gang war going on in your house, right?
No, I don't want a dog anymore. They're at a very love-hate relationship still to this day, and they're both 15. So you can imagine how many how many little spats there's been, and then also I'll catch them snuggling together. So they have a love-hate.
So do you take a break or do you overlap dogs, or how do you work that then? They're both 15.
They're both 15. One is definitely still more spry than the other. The little guy, Tiny, he's got his eyesight's kind of going, and he's definitely has like onset dementia, so he's pacing a lot. And really quick funny story for you about that: when I brought him to the vet, when he looked very frail, and I was really scared of what they were going to tell me, and this was just a few months ago. They were like, let's do blood work. So they did blood work, and they came back and they're like, we don't really know what's going on with him because all of his internal organs, everything is running perfectly. He's got the blood work of a 2-year-old pup. And I'm thinking, okay, so what's happening here? And then they noticed that he was pacing in the room. And they're like, does he do this a lot at home? And I said, well, yeah. And they're like, maybe we need to up his calories. So do you imagine how I felt? I felt like the bad mom who was starving her kids. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And they were right. The moment I started feeding him 3 or 4 meals a day, he just started packing on the pounds. Now he's a little chunker. He's, solid all the way through. And I thought, oh my gosh, look what just happened in less than 6 weeks. The guy put on 2.5 pounds on, and he looks built.
Wow. Any kind of special food or just more food?
So I decided to go back to making their own food. So I actually cook rice with a protein and vegetables, and I put a little bit of fat in it so that they get a little fat. And then I have vitamins that I sprinkle on top. So they get like a gourmet meal, I think.
Good for you. That's why I don't. We used to have a dog. He lived till like 15. And I was like, I'll always have a dog. And then he died, and we didn't have a dog for like 6 months. And I decided this is pretty sweet also. There's nothing to take care of. There's no fur. There's no walking. All of a sudden, we always had pets, cats, dogs, something growing up. And I always had allergies. You just have allergies. Dog went away. Allergies went away. So
Wow,
I was living
yeah.
this whole time not even knowing that the thing I chose to have around was doing the allergies. So,
Wow,
but I do
yeah.
like dogs.
Yeah, these
So
guys, these guys are hypoallergenic, so they have hair like we do. Like when you pet them, it feels like hair, and they don't shed. But the walking part, the feeding part, the vet part, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I always think I'll get someday, and it would be a hypoallergenic one for sure. And then you also have a human son, stepson,
Mhm.
who is 6, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's a
6 years
gem.
old. And you have a longtime boyfriend, Brian, who is a father of a 6-year-old stepson. And your hobbies
Mhm.
are yoga, and you want to start playing the violin.
Mhm.
So, what makes you want to play the violin?
So growing up, I played the flute, I played the piano, and then I just hung instruments up and haven't touched an instrument in so many years. And so part of me, not long ago, was thinking about how I really don't have any like hobbies right now that I'm doing. I'm very focused at work. I'm a workaholic. I've always have been a workaholic ever since age 12. And so for me, I just thought to myself, my gosh, I don't really have anything outside of like spending time with friends and family. I don't really have like a hobby, something that I really get into. I like living a healthy lifestyle. I like working out, which I really haven't done recently. I need to jump back in. But one of my things that I was thinking about is what can I do that um, could take up some time, but I'm really interested in. I've always had an affinity for the violin, so I'd love to learn it.
So you said flute and piano you played before, like pretty proficiently?
Yeah, I was pretty good at both. In band, every time we had a recital or something in school, I was the lead flute solo, and then that led to playing the piccolo too, which is a very handheld, small version of the flute. Um, and the piano, I was really, really good at. I have long fingers, and so piano fingers, everyone would say. And so I could get back into playing the piano as well. But I think there's something about the violin. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I was gonna say you already know how to do one of those because it's frustrating. I tried to start playing the guitar at like 35 or something, and I remember thinking this is like when you're a kid because I played the trumpet, so and there was a piccolo version of the trumpet. You get one note out, you're like, wow, this is great, and it kind of keeps you going, and even just a little bit keeps you going. But now as an adult, I just want to smash the thing, and I just want it to like kind of work. So the opposite worked for me, but maybe if you're a little bit more patient than me, you'd be all right learning a new
Well,
instrument.
yeah, no, I'd feel really bad for my family. I'm sure that they're going to want to take it and smash it.
A
'Cause
violin too, you can't really do silently. A piano, you could get a keyboard with earphones or something. Well, that's fun.
That's
I wish
true.
you luck on your quest for hobbies. And I got a bunch I can throw your way if you ever need an extra hobby. I have some to get rid of. And you said you were a workaholic at 12. So what took you from starting to be a workaholic to selling real estate today? I know that's a
Oh my
long
gosh,
time period,
so
but
much. I know. I think that my motivation and my drive really comes down to independence. I've always wanted to be independent and always have a better lifestyle or better life than I had when I was growing up. The way I grew up was really rough. Single parent household with no added income, no child support. My mom at when I was 3, I remember her teaching me if you make your bed, you're going to get 50 cents. And if you put this toast in the toaster and make breakfast for yourself, you get another 50 cents. Like she was paying me to help feed myself. And I think in her mind, having struggled herself and also struggling still with a little one, I think in her mind that the greatest thing that she could ever teach me was independence and how to care for myself. And so when I was 12 and I wanted to have all the cool clothes that all the other kids had when I had hand me downs and they were ragged and torn, she was like, "You want that shirt at the mall? This is what you got to do." So I took crayons and pieces of paper and I wrote down my mom's phone number, our phone number, and said pet sitter for hire. And I went door to door and I literally door knocked, which is what I still do today in real estate. I door knock looking for business, ironically enough. And, that was how I got my first job and my first family that took a chance on me. And that's another funny story. They needed a pet sitter because the mom was pregnant, and so you can't be around cat litter boxes. And so she was like, I need someone to change the cat litter box, and then you can feed and clean their bowls and feed her and all that stuff. And then she's like, I have another job for you. And I said, okay, what is it? Now you have to imagine I'm 12, probably 70 pounds, not even soaking wet, very long, lanky, like girl with Coke bottle glasses, very awkward looking. And she's like, I got a job for you. If you can walk my dog around the block, then you got the job. You got another job. I need you here every day then. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh. So my mom was with me because when I door knocked on these doors, she was riding in her car. So she pulled in the driveway, came up, and they were talking. And she's like, I have to do this with your daughter. You're here with me now. I know everything's going to be okay, but we're going to watch her do this. And my mom signed off and agreed. So after this all happened, I was really mad at her because I was like, how embarrassing is this? So the woman had a Great Dane dog. And I thought to myself, and I looked at this thing and I thought, that's a horse. It's literally standing taller than me. And you're asking me to walk this dog. I was scared of it. Okay. It's a really big dog. And I remember thinking to myself, this dog could literally the head was bigger than mine. And it walked me around the whole block. But I held onto the leash, didn't let go, and the dog knew where it was going, and it walked itself back up the driveway. And I was like, okay, I'm back. And they both were laughing, they were clapping, and she was like, okay, you're hired, you got the job. I go, did you really? And she goes, I didn't really think you needed to do that, but you did, and you have the job.
So your first client was 2 pets.
2 pets. Yeah.
And then did you do that the whole way through high school?
No. So I did that, and then the baby was born. And so once the first child was born, she realized that she actually wanted help because not long after she was pregnant for a second child. And she realized, wait, Samantha's at this age where she could really help me out. So then I started babysitting for them. And that became so lucrative. And I was making such good money that I actually gave money to my mom to help pay for bills. Like there were, I think, weeks that I did better than my mom did, and I was getting cash under the table. And so, like when I think back, I mean, there was a time I think I babysat for 2.5 hours, and they handed me $60. And that way back then, I mean, that's a lot of money. And so I babysat for them and kind of was like a nanny. If they wanted to take the kids down to the Bronx Zoo, she always invited me along. I was actually part of the family for many years. And that was up until age 16. And then her and my mom sat down again with me and said, okay, it's time for you to go get a real job. So, and I was really sad and I didn't want to leave them, but they were both adamant that it was time. So I said, okay. And
So when you said you were a workaholic back then, are you meaning like you were seeking out more babysitting and you would skip things that your friends were doing to do more babysitting?
Yeah, I didn't really have friends during those years. It was just me and my mom. I was doing like a lot of stuff to help them out. I mean, I had friends, but I would spend more time just working just to help pay the bills, get the things that I wanted. And it was really, propelled me that when I turned 18, that I was really on my own when I turned 18. And I had an apartment and my mom, it was like really strange. I had friends that were my age or even older still living at home. And here I was paying for my own car insurance, my own car payment, gas, and the things that I wanted to do.
It was crazy. A lot of times the adversity like that turns you into the person you are now, having that work ethic behind you that a lot of other people that have a silver spoon in their mouth or don't have to work for anything, all of a sudden when they're thrown to the wolves, can't really handle it and can't handle the pressure. So in a weird way, it may have helped you out, hopefully. So after college then you went to the college in Albany. Did you do anything entrepreneurial in college or were you just focusing on your studies then?
Oh yeah, I definitely was. I was working, when I first started there, I was working, well, I had already left the law firm. So I was working in restaurants. I started working in restaurants and I excelled in restaurants. I did sort of a stage, training, stage meaning working for free while you're being trained to be like an underling. And I did that for the bartender that was at the restaurant that was leaving. So I was a bartender at a little family restaurant, and then I took all of the shifts, and then it grew into being like the lead bartender. And I just had always, everywhere I went, no matter where it was that I worked, I always excelled very quickly. I always was very, I mean, they said they needed someone to cover on a shift, raise my hand. I was always the first one to jump in and help out whenever anything was needed, and always said yes, which could be a detriment too. But that's probably where the workaholic came from, was that it was just all I had ever known. And it wasn't that I intentionally had set out to be the best. I just positioned myself to be the best without even knowing it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just like, why? That's more money. What do you mean? Nobody else is volunteering? Yeah, I'll do it. That's more. You're going to pay me more money? Okay. I don't have nothing going on. I'll take the hours, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So how'd you get from the restaurant work and deciding not to do journalism because of the Iraq war to real estate now?
So I became licensed in 2008. I was in the middle of, I just bought a house in 2007, and in the height of the market, and I didn't even realize it. I was working full time. I was doing hospitality management for the company that I had helped grow and grew tremendously. And I was thinking of my future and thinking about how I've seen a lot of realtors come into this fancy fine dining establishment that I was working at, and seeing how elegantly they were dressed, and how often they were able to come in, and how much money that they must have been making, right? It appeared that they did very well. And I thought to myself, geez, I'd love a career where I'm making what I am now, because I did very well then. I was making a 6-figure income for this company, and helping groom staff, and training, and helping build that company, that I thought, oh my gosh, but if I didn't have to work so hard, and I could work the hours that I chose, and I could go out to dinner, which I had not done my entire life. I mean, if I went out to dinner, it was on a Sunday or Monday night, and how many restaurants do you know are open those nights, right? Like, I didn't have a life for 20 something years that most people had. I was thinking about, how can I spend holidays with my family and not be so stressed because I'm overworked or overtired? And how am I going to not miss those birthdays, those important engagements, those important events? And every time my friends would want to get together, I always had to say no, I was working. And I thought to myself, how am I going to have a family even? How am I going to be able to raise children? And how am I going to be able to do all this if I'm working these crazy hours? And so I looked at real estate, and I talked to different agents that had come in, and the person that I ended up buying a house with was who I ended up training with. And she was like, oh, you'd be great. And, that was a whole other experience for me, was having these people come in. And I didn't understand, in the real estate world, especially back then, it was a lot about recruitment, and everyone was looking for new talent hard. And I had never experienced that before. And being that I had such a great position with a lot of wealthy people coming into a restaurant, where a lot of, like, basically what we know as lead gen, where we look for people were coming in to me. That was a great database source for me, was working that position. So a lot of people were looking to have me join them. And, I was like, well, I bought my house through her, which wasn't the greatest experience. And then I had, and when I say greatest experience, I mean, I also felt really green. I didn't know all the things. I felt like I didn't know enough, that I didn't know if I was being taken care of or not. Like, I wanted to change it so that the roles were reversed, and I knew more than I did. And so when I got into it, I was like, oh, wow. Like, it was very eye-opening. I went to the school, and once I got licensed and I was learning things, was when I realized it was a bigger world out there. So, so then I ended up leaving from being with her. I ended up going to, because she was a very small, she had just broke off from a larger brokerage and was starting up on her own by herself. I went somewhere that actually had training and could train me and help move me along. And it took about 3 or 4 brokerages to actually find my home. And for anyone who's like, geez, starting over that many times is a lot. Well, it was something I was used to. You heard me say I moved about 24 times. It really, for me, it was more like, this is just, it's not the right fit. And thank you so much for the opportunity, but I need to move on, But I will say that that's really what it boiled down to me. For me, was getting back a quality of life, getting a quality of life that I never experienced, and being able to spend it with whom I wanted and how I wanted.
Yeah, it's got to be the number one reason of people becoming real estate agents is the freedom and being able to choose what you do and when you do it and all that. And we do work hard for our clients. Let's not get that
Yeah.
twisted. Some crazy
Yes.
stuff that no other profession does,
Yeah. I
but
was just gonna
it is
say we
all
still
worth it.
do. Yeah.
So we do some crazy stuff still, but it is on our, if we wanted to say, nope, I'm going to this thing, we can do it because we work for ourselves. So it is nice. And the barrier to entry is lower than some others. So you had your license since 2008 and you are up in Albany, and we'll start talking about your place now. And I'm going to bring the map
Yeah.
in, and I'm going to do something that I haven't done yet, but I
Oh,
just
cool.
realized that Google gives me this little summary on the side,
Yeah.
handy dandy, and I can tell people. So currently in Albany, New York, it is 57 degrees and sunny. And I'll read the quick facts here. Albany is the capital city of New York State. Downtown's huge Empire State Plaza has reflecting pools, an art-filled underground shopping concourse, and the Egg, a striking performing arts center. The plaza is bookended by the 1800s New York State Capitol and the New York State Museum, focusing on natural and cultural history. The Albany Institute of History and Art is famed for its Hudson River School paintings. And then you can learn more, and there's some handy dandy things. And a lot of the pictures I can see are of the Capitol. So you must have a good Capitol. I don't know. Harrisburg, I think, was voted like the best Capitol building. So tell me a little bit about the Capitol complex here before I talk about where it's located.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's actually it's really unique. There's one tower that's taller than the rest, and then the other three towers are about the same height. And then the egg that was mentioned is actually an egg shaped building. It also looks more like a saucer, like a flying spaceship, and it protrudes into the sky looking like a spaceship. And it's actually a theater, which is really, really cool. That picture that you just popped up there, that's the New York State Museum. Yep, that right there, which is right behind, like attached to the same concourse. So the whole concourse has underground tunnel where the shops and things that you were just talking about connects all of these buildings. So you can get to everything from underground or above on the street.
Oh, wow. That's pretty awesome. I want to hear about that in a little
Mhm.
bit when we get to the local travel and everything, because that's not very common. Haven't heard about that anywhere else. So I'll zoom out here for anybody on the planet watching, because we're reaching all humans now. Here's
Yes.
our globe. We're United States here. Disregard all my favorite places. Most of these are realtors in my realtor network. You can see Taylor up here in Alberta, yada, yada. So you can
Love
see the
it.
pin here, which is where Sam is. And you can see New York is obviously on the northeastern section of the United States. And where is it in relation to the state? So New York City's way down as south
Mhm.
as you could go in the state for the most part. And
Mhm.
then you are mid-state, I guess,
Midway.
actually, huh?
Hmm. Yep, we're
Okay.
mid east. We're about 3 hours, about 2.5 hours north of New York City, about 3 hours south of Montreal. We're about 3 hours west of Boston, and a couple other cities that are known in New York are Rochester and Buffalo. Both are about 5 hours away. And they're way off to the west where the lakes are, the Great Lakes. And so it's a very vast state. Um, it's very, very large. And where I am, I'd say you said it was 57 degrees today, which actually is kind of a heat wave. This week is a little warmer than usual. Last week we were just waking up to like 28 degrees, which it was about this morning too. And so typically right now we would probably see like 45, 50. Um, so it's definitely getting cooler. I think like latitude wise, like some of Canada we're even with. So it gets very, very cold in the winter, and it can get equally very, very hot in the summer. We can have heat waves here in the 90s to 100s. And in the winter, we could be below zero, especially with the wind chill factor.
And you a lot of snow?
We can get a lot of snow. We had a couple of snowstorms last year. One, which was the first one, was like 2.5 feet of snow. We can get anywhere from 6 to 8 inches on average, and a couple of the whopper snowstorms could be 24 to 48 inches. Yeah.
And obviously, you're ready for all that. You have the salting trucks, the plows, all that stuff. Are they
hmm
generally pretty good about clearing the roads?
Yeah, I'd say in the rural areas, it's probably definitely a lot more challenging, especially in the hilltop mountains and in those areas. But for most part, all the cities have snow emergency. Where I live in Albany, we have snow emergency where you park on one side and then on the other so that they clear all the snow. And it's actually really interesting. There's this very cool, it's a two machine sort of contraption new to the city where it's like shooting snow into the back of dump trucks, and then they haul that off and like dump it into the river, which is really the Hudson River, which is really interesting.
Yeah, extra work, I guess, but it does keep the big piles away from the stacking up and everything, which used to be
hmm
my favorite to put tunnels through. Thank God none of those ever caved in, but we used to make some crazy tunnels inside some of that stuff. So
Well,
you
it's
do get the
funny.
four seasons. You get the
hmm
snow, you get some pretty hot days because you're a little bit north than us, but I'm sure you're getting those 90s and maybe even 100 days maybe there. What's
hmm
the landscape like? Is it mountainous up there?
Yeah, there's actually a few different mountain ranges. So here in Albany County, we have 23 summits, and then they're on a smaller scale. The larger mountain ranges that we have in New York State, south of Albany, is the Catskill Mountains. That's what separates New York City and Albany. The Catskill Mountains are south of us, so you'll hear a lot of people talking from New York City coming up to Catskills for like winter season for skiing and whatnot. And then above Albany, in between Albany and say like Lake George, where George is, which people compare Lake George to a mini Lake Tahoe because it's very, very beautiful, is the Adirondack Mountains. And there's actually, if you're a 46er, and I know you like to hike, a 46er is someone who climbs all 46 peaks, the high peaks in the Adirondack Mountains.
Huh. Is that something you could Google and get the list pretty easily?
Yep, you should be
That
able
sounds
to.
fun. Have you done
Yeah.
any?
No, actually, I haven't. But however, someone on my team is
You're looking
really
for hobbies, right?
yeah, I know. Well, I know you really love to hike, and I like if I was gonna make a joke like, "Oh, is one of yours hiking?" Because every morning you're hiking, I know, or doing some sort of like climbing or rock climbing, things like that. You would really love the 46 Peaks because it is really really pretty. You can see, 4 or 5 different states from some of those peaks. And they're not as high as, say, like, I'm not sure the Appalachian Trail. I'm sure it's comparative as far as like when it comes to height. It might be very similar to the Appalachian Trail, which I think you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's not like the
Which probably
Rockies over
varies a
here.
lot, I guess. It goes in Maine. I don't even know how high it gets. In Pennsylvania, not very high.
Right, right.
But
Yep.
yeah. So okay. And do are you in a valley at all, or is it because we're kind of in a valley here? So when it gets cloudy, it stays cloudy. Actually, we're cloudy a lot of the times. That's probably the number one con of this area is the overcast. And when it comes, it just sits here. We get
Mm.
like 70 days of pure sunshine a year or something like that. So what's it like up there
We're
as far as like
surrounded.
overcast?
Yeah, it's, what's interesting. We don't experience things like that here. Nothing stays because it's being trapped by the mountains or anything like that. We're sort of on a very even, and then outskirts are mountains, right? And so it doesn't feel like we're in a valley. Like the Mohawk Valley isn't far, and that feels like when things are happening there, you can see that. But where I am, it's really not like that here.
Nice. Do you have guests yesterday or not yesterday, whenever it was, called their weather bipolar? Do you have bipolar weather like in Florida where it could be sunny and something comes through, pours, and then it's sunny again?
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. Yep. It can
Huh.
be like
That must be
that. And
nice.
yeah, it's different. I mean, it's funny because in certain parts, I'm sure with the country, like there are areas where it's like very consistent and it just stays the same, where in some parts, like fall for us, like we're in fall right now. It could be 28 degrees this morning, and like right now it's 57 degrees. So we have a very hard time, like, how do you dress for this change in weather? And, so you layer up in the fall, and then in the winter, you're basically frozen. So you're layered up constantly.
Yeah, you layer up in the morning and then you start shedding them as the day goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets dark at like 4:30 p.m. and you start
Yes.
putting the layers back on again and everything.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So what's the commute like? You mentioned this underground thing. Is that involved in commuting, or is that just kind of attaching some buildings together?
Yeah, that's just attaching some buildings together. So being the capital of New York, that's actually where, so those buildings and that structure was built for the state employees. So all of their offices are in the towers. And then when they created the underground concourse, it was for all of them to go shop, have lunch, walk and get exercise, see something pretty outside with the pools, which it is really pretty, the reflecting pools, and some statues and architecture are outside. And the commute it's so funny because, here in our area, we have a few major highways, not that many, but there could be high traffic, peak times, right? It's, early evening, and the rush into the state capitol for all those state employees. A lot of them work where I actually went to high school. So a lot of them are coming from the north and heading down into that area to go for work. So you do get congestion, but I have to giggle because it's like, what are you stuck in traffic for? Maybe 5-10 minutes. Like, you're really not stuck in traffic for very long, unless there's an accident. Honestly, an accident or construction, it's really not that long. And when I hear people complain, I'm like, well, you must not have never drove in the city, because in New York City, like, that's real traffic. Like, so I do find that a lot of us here are sort of in a bubble. A lot of people haven't explored and haven't traveled, right? So like, they don't know what it's like. So I think those are the ones that are saying, oh, this is traffic. But really, they haven't seen any traffic before.
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad. It sounds similar to here, and we're actually a lot of similarities, I guess. We're also the state capital, so you could live in the kind of country area where I live, cows, farms, soybeans, and corn and beef,
Yeah.
and then it takes 20 to 30 minutes to get from any of those kind of rural areas down to downtown Harrisburg or anywhere. Do you have toll roads at all?
We do, and we just switched over, so there's no need to stop anymore. Everyone either has Easy Pass, must have Easy Pass, really, to travel on those roads, because they got rid of all of the booths, and it's basically electrical. So as long as you're scanned from up above, you're good to go.
And do you have a switch? Do you have an express lane or no switch?
Not yet.
Same guest. They have a switch. They've got one of those express lanes like in the middle that only goes one direction one time.
Yep.
You have to have 4 people to be able to whatever, and there's a switch on their
Yes.
Easy Pass.
Oh,
And then I've
that's
had
cool.
guests that they don't even know what an Easy Pass was, which I thought
Yeah.
was everywhere.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, I remember going into Virginia and being in like the DC area, and they definitely had like the Super 8 highway right there, where they actually switched 2 lanes in some parts of it, which is really cool. But that's like
Yeah, it's a
that's
good
a
idea.
lot of traffic. Yeah. It's a great
It
idea.
keeps it all
Maybe LA needs
efficient.
it. Yeah.
They don't have any? I would guess they would have
I
it,
don't
or they're
know.
working on it.
Yeah, I've just seen some really long traffic pictures there, thinking, do they have that?
Yeah, I wouldn't, just for that reason, I would never live there unless I didn't have to drive or had a helicopter or
Commute.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So last question about commuting is there public transportation, bus system, any trains, any of that kind of stuff, subway?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So we do have a CDTA is our bus. So we have CDTA for bus public transportation, and then we also have Amtrak, which is the rail system that goes from areas in the state down to New York City.
Huh. Amtrak. So we have Amtrak here. So you could probably take a train from Harrisburg all the way to, I know you could go to New York City. So you'd probably end up going to New York City and then go
Yep.
up to Albany. That could be a fun trip. Although I said to somebody else,
Yeah.
I looked I was going somewhere for a trip and I looked at train just thinking like maybe it'd be really cheap and it could be fun. And it cost more than the flight, I think. It ended up being, I think the bus was more expensive than a flight these days. So I was
Oh,
like, forget
wow.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
interesting.
mean, yeah, as cheap as flights are these days. So what, you're in the capital. So obviously the state government, employs a lot
Mhm.
of people and then
Oh, yes.
other lobbying groups and law
Yes.
firms. And, do you have any federal presence there? I know we have,
Yep.
because the state capital's here, we also then have the federal courthouse and some other things that bring federal dollars as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We have um, definitely Homeland Security and FBI. We have a lot of the state has places not just in the city of Albany, but also on the outskirts of Albany, state offices. We have, let's see, probably our bigger things are the tech world. Like we are like Guitar Hero, that company that was founded here in our area. We have definitely a lot of engineering. RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute is a huge engineering university. We have a lot of universities in this area, along with the one that I went to. University of Albany, is the largest state school. We do have Albany Law. We have Albany College of Pharmacy. We have Albany Medical Center, which is also a teaching hospital. And then a lot of other colleges and universities as well, such as Sage, St. Rose. And then with companies, we've got Regeneron, which was helping develop the vaccine, one of the vaccines for COVID-19, leading one of the fastest growing companies. They've been growing fast even before COVID, but they're one of the top 5 fastest growing companies in our area, and also one of the best places to work. Everyone seems to rave about it and really love it. We also have Global Foundries, which was a big chip plant. So we're like the Silicon Valley for New York in this area, it seems. We have, let me think, many other big companies seem to be landing here. Commerce Hub. We have, let me think, a lot of just a lot of engineering, people who are developing things to better people's lives. So
Yeah, again, a lot of similarities to here. There's a lot of different things because the state government brings kind of everything there. You have
mhm.
the universities and the college. You got that check mark. You got the medical stuff, huge medical system, and then all the support stuff for that, and that's growing everywhere. You have the growing tech thing, which everybody at every show, everybody's saying their tech is growing. So that must be a universal thing. And maybe you're a little bit bigger there, being in New York and being the tech hub of New York. So you're working with everything. Any military?
We do. We do have a base in Schenectady. It's an Air Force base, and on the smaller scale. And then we also have the Waterville Arsenal, which is heavily guarded. It's actually where a lot of the weaponry is built. A lot of people don't realize that it's actually when federally, when it's looked at, it's actually probably one of the most protected spaces in New York State, and it's actually really close, right in the middle, in the heart of Waterville City, which is a very small city here in our area. And I'm trying to think. I think that's about it. But we're not far from like the South is the one of the larger, I think Army. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't think of it right now, but New York
Some
State
kind of
has it.
base
It's
or something?
Scotland. Well, it's like a big school. I forget what it's called, but it's down in, I think, Rockland County.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we have a Army War College here in Carlisle, and I didn't know it was that big of a deal, but people come from all over the world apparently to learn from this
yeah,
war college. Probably something similar, I would imagine.
yeah, I think
So
so.
what can
Probably.
you do? You have big trees, you have hills and woods and hiking and all that stuff. So you have all the outdoors stuff. What about like festivals and brew fests and First Fridays and
Oh, yeah.
Thursdays and all that kind of stuff. Tell me a little
Oh,
bit
we
about
have
that
all
scene.
that. Yeah, so the city of Albany, we'll start there. The city of Albany, we have first Friday of every month. It's where the artists and restaurants can put stuff out into the street, and the vendors have things out on the street so you can visit. The city of Troy, which is part of our capital region, they have a beautiful farmers market every Sunday where it's the better of all the farmers markets. It's rated number one for our area. They probably have about 50 to 60 different vendors, and it's really, really beautiful. Um, and then in the city of Albany, we also have some fun type of events. We have Lark Fest, where the street on Lark Street shuts down. There's bands on either end of the street playing live music all day, and there's different vendors that come out and food purveyors. There's the Santa Speedo race, which is actually really famous. It helps bring awareness and raises money for the LGBTQ community. So it's a Santa Speedo where you literally can wear nothing but a Speedo and dress up as Santa Claus with the whole beard and everything. And you're running in the middle of the freezing cold winter down the street. It's pretty awesome. It's a lot of fun. In Washington Park, there's it's actually really famous. We've had a lot of people come to our area just for our tulip festival. There's probably hundreds of thousands of tulips that are planted in the beginning of spring, and then they come up for Mother's Day. And so it's an annual tradition for everyone to come to Washington Park, just a block from where I live, to view those tulips. And then when the season is over, you can come by and for free pick those bulbs. They will put them in a bag for you so you can take them home with you. It's really pretty.
I was going to say, don't they come back every year? They don't have to plant them, but if you're taking them, I guess they would have to plant them again then. So, and it gives everybody an activity to do, right?
Exactly. They plant them every year, and it's a very strategic section of the park where there's monuments. And so they put different types of tulips all around, and it's really pretty how they do bloom and how they come up. It's just a beautiful event. It's an all weekend Mother's Day weekend festival with bands and purveyors, and people come through, and it's just really, really pretty. We've had people from all the surrounding states drive here for it because there's just so many tulips.
Perfect for Mother's Day too, and perfect like fodder so everybody wants that shot with the field. We have sunflower seed fields here, and as soon as it's sunflower, everybody's got the big yellow picture in the farm standing in it. That's funny.
It's pretty. Yeah.
And then what about if you wanted to go see like a big concert like Justin Bieber or some kind of big act?
Yeah.
Is there something close by?
Yeah, so where I live in Albany, we have the Times Union Center. It's actually the name of it will change because every 3 years the contract's up. So it was the Knickerbocker Arena, it was the Pepsi Arena, and now it's the Times Union Center. So that is where our indoor sports and entertainment would be held for us locally. It seats up to, I want to say, up to 20,000. Not quite sure of the actual number, but it's not very big. Obviously, if you want to go for a big concert, Madison Square Garden in New York City is hop on the train and head down. But in the summer, one of my favorite places to go for music is an outdoor amphitheater called SPAC, Saratoga Performing Arts Center. It's very similar to like Tanglewood. I don't know if you've ever heard of Tanglewood, but it's in Massachusetts. It's very similar. But also the Xfinity Center in Connecticut is also an outdoor music venue. So it's very similar to what that looks like. And it's just one of my favorite places to go. It's very intimate. There's covered seating, but then you can be on the lawn and enjoy the concert as well. It's a really beautiful place to listen to music or, have live music.
I feel you on that. I'd rather go to a theater. I will not go to a stadium by rule unless I'm in the golden circle right up front, which doesn't appeal to me much either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will not. That's for the birds. I'll watch it when it comes on HBO, or I'll see it in the theater when they're on their way down or on their way up. That's is my jam, in the nice comfy
Yeah.
seats and with like a
Well,
thousand or a couple thousand people.
yeah, I had really great tickets though for Lady Gaga at the MetLife Stadium, so we were really close up front. That's the only way to really do it, but you've got to spend a lot of money for them.
Yeah, totally. Especially these days, it's crazy what they cost, especially if you're taking the whole family. But anyway, we'll keep moving on. Before we move to what you get for the money there, tell everybody where they would, if you had to fly somewhere, what airport are you going to? Is there an Albany airport or what?
Yes, Albany International Airport, and it has one, two, three gates at the moment, so it's not very big. But they are growing. It is actually expanding. Our area does seem to be steadily increasing. Our new housing market construction, there just seems to be, they just keep building. So we do have an airport right in Albany, and then there are smaller airports nearby, but that's the one you would fly in and out of.
Nice. We have one maybe slightly bigger than yours at this point in time, but I love flying out of there if it's possible. And if you're going somewhere like Florida or some high traffic place, usually there is a flight, and I'll take that all day. But sometimes we have to drive to New York or Baltimore or some other place to fly to. So I feel you on that. And then we have also those little hobby airports, I call them, that have private jets, maybe the little Cessnas,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So that's fun.
helicopters. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never ridden in a helicopter yet. Maybe next
Mhm.
meetup we could do that. That would be fun.
Yeah, my friend actually does fly. She's amazing. She does have her own helicopter company, so she's down in Middleburg.
Oh, I would maybe drive just to do that. Make a trip, stop in the woods somewhere too on my way.
Yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit. There's still construction happening where you are. So talk about that a little bit. Is the market pretty steady still, pretty crazy? Still need inventory?
We still need inventory, absolutely. I am seeing that absorption rate is still pretty high, so it's still a seller's market here. Finding that, especially if you're looking for something too specific, it's a waiting game, and then jump as soon as you see it. So the unique properties priced well are going pretty quickly, and anything that shows really nicely online and is priced appropriately also goes very quickly and still in multiple offer situations. And we do have hot markets where our hot markets in the area are definitely school district driven, meaning that they want to keep their kids in a certain school and they need to upgrade, then they're going to stay in that school district that's more desirable for them. And let's see what we get for your money. So the average sale price in our market is about 250,000. But the average 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage home goes for about 350 or more here. So I would say that like 250,000 being our average price point might get you like a cute little Cape home with a garage and like maybe less than an acre. And yeah, it's about
Yeah.
right. And
Again, very similar to here because 300
is
is the number I'm quoting as kind of like the entry level to the white picket fence dream home. For 300-ish, you can get a 2-story. You can maybe add you got a second car garage. You're on 0.25 acres, probably no big land or anything. It's half decent inside. Used to be able to get that little ranch with a carport for like 200, maybe even 175, but now that's 250-ish just to get into one of those. So sounds like similar kind of market, similar kind of pricing. What if somebody had, say, $2 million to spend? What can you get for the in the luxury market?
In the luxury market, I would say you could get 5,000 square feet or more. And obviously, it would be something with views. So whether it be water, on water, or near water, or here in Albany, it would be we have an area where the homes are very old, but very well taken care of. So a lot of history and charm. So you could probably get something like a Tudor or a old sort of Victorian home that's been rehabbed and redone, and with a little bit of land. And then that's in the Albany area. Saratoga Market is a little bit north of where I went to high school. That's also part of our market in the capital region. And 2 million could also get you a penthouse right in Saratoga Springs, and 2 million could also get you a wonderful like horse farm, newer style home with a little bit of land.
Awesome. So you got your pick pretty much of everything you could spend your money on, and you're not locked into one thing. Some places I ask, and it's pretty much, oh, you could get an apartment. Or just that's what all you could have. We don't even have woods or anything, so you could have this kind of house, or you could have an apartment. So I like having all those choices and something for everybody. Are there any HOAs anywhere? I'm assuming like the older stuff, there's not HOAs like here, and then most of the newer stuff might have HOAs. But is it like Florida where it's gated and like lots of amenities and that kind of thing?
So there are gated communities that do have an HOA. There's a few, not too many. And then some of the non-gated communities are also HOA just to keep up the grounds. And then most of our HOA that you'll find would be like a condominium building, something similar to what I live in. We have an HOA for the common areas and any upkeep of the building, any sort of special assessments if we want to add something that helps better the lives of the community and the HOA. The way it works, 51% of the community has to vote on it and say yes and agree to it.
Gotcha. So similar everywhere. And any gauge on like fee? Because I know down there, again, I always reference like Carolinas and Florida, people coming from there, if I tell them a fee is $100 a month, that's like nothing to them because they're coming from like 300, 500. So here an average HOA fee is like $80. I'm asking questions if it's below that, and maybe up to like 150 above that. I'm asking questions no matter what. But so what are you looking at there as maybe an average-ish?
Yeah. In my community, so in where I live, there are 3 larger condominium buildings, and the average price is anywhere from $350 up to $750 a month.
Because that's the apartment style condominium. Yeah.
And for a single family residence, those HOAs can be anywhere from about 300 to 500. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So that is something to keep in mind, because that affects your loan, how much you can get a loan for.
And those are the homes that are starting like minimum 600,000. And then the other communities and other subdivisions that do have HOA, they might be 150 to 200 based on could be for homes that are between 3 and 500,000.
Okay. Nice. And if anybody wants to learn more, they can obviously reach out to you. And there's a lot more to know about what you can get for your money and different areas you should be in the country or the city or somewhere in between. I prefer somewhere. I like to live close to the stuff I like to do, because I don't want to own the stuff I like to do. I just want to live close to the stuff and not have to take care of it. So I like to be close to the woods, but if you like to be close to the city, she can help you there. Also, our last question before we close out has nothing to do with real estate or anything else. If you could do anything else, what would you do?
I would definitely get yoga certified, and I'd become a yoga instructor. I find that yoga is very therapeutic, and I would spend a lot of time with people and communities in need. So anyone that is seeking refuge from an addiction or children, I would love to bring yoga into the schools, in the school districts, and even the impoverished schools, because unfortunately we all know that sometimes school is a safe haven from home for those children. And so I love to not only be a yoga instructor and help all people who are willing to pay for my services take a course and take a class, but also help in the nonprofit world as well.
Yeah, and help them build tools to cope for the rest of their lives, and tools that they can use and use forever. What was I going to say? Oh, did you ever do paddleboard yoga?
So no, the first time, the only time that I tried paddleboard was just a paddleboard, and it was an incredibly windy day, and I stayed basically in the same spot because we were going against the wind in order to go where everybody else was down up the stream and into the lake. I shouldn't say stream, it was a lake. In order to go where everyone seemed to be having the most fun, it took a lot of work. So it was an insane amount of working out to try to relax.
You need an anchor. I always wondered that. I always see, I've never done it either, but I see at places I go on vacation, paddleboard yoga is always a thing. And I'm thinking, so do you use an anchor somehow? Because everybody's going to be floating away from each other or at the mercy of whatever, especially if you're in a bay or an ocean, because it seems to be at the beachy places where I see the ads all the time. But anyway, read all your stuff aloud here for anybody that might be listening later and can't see it on the screen. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh, I love phone calls, video texts, and text messages to my cell, 518-209-7539. And you can email me at Samantha, SAMANTHA, at peakrealtyny for New York.com. And if you want to get explorative, you can also text Heart of Albany, no spaces, to 59559. Oh,
snap. I'll have to add that in the description later, and maybe I'll do it to see what happens when you do that. A little teaser for everybody. So hit her up, and if you need to move to Albany, you can hit me up to buy or sell a house here, and then I'll hook you up with Samantha. Or if you just want to visit up there, Realtors are always the best tour guides everywhere. Hit me up. You can call me, text me, email me, throw a rock through my window, send a carrier pigeon, whatever you need to do. We still need inventory in November 2021. I keep forgetting people might be watching this later. So that's November 2021. Still crazy. Hopefully not later if you're watching this. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. And say goodbye, Samantha.